Good morning, good morning, good morning. Predicted Trades family. Hope everybody's doing well. Let's dig right into prep. So yesterday, talked about how we were opening in a wedge. We got that dump from PPI and jobless claims. We fell right to key zone 4101, 4108, and this 4-hour squeeze bottom. That's where we were calling out longs to start the day that took us up to 4136.5. Late in the day, after we gave out 4136.5, is when we switched short to take it right back down to that zone and that squeeze bottom. As you can see, overnight we have drifted lower right down to our next key level, 4071. We also have this recent low of 4060.75. Right below that is a key level 4056. I'm pointing these all out because 4060, 4056, and 4071 are the key points of support that we need to hold today to get any kind of bounce back up above the daily 21. That daily 21 now sitting at our key level 4087. So we should at least be expecting some kind of recovery bounce, just like yesterday. Sorry about that. Had to mute for a second to spare you guys the sneeze. Jeez Louise. All right, sorry about that, folks. A little cough attack there. So we have to hold these levels to see any kind of recovery bounce for any kind of a gap fill. Looks like we closed around 4095 on ES. So getting up to that 4095, 4100 gets to filling the gap. Just like yesterday, when we sell off too much pre-market, we should be expecting some kind of recovery bounce, partial gap fill, and we're having another gap down today, right? Doing a great job of holding this 4071. And we have a couple of pre-market lows to work off of, plus a 30-minute squeeze bottom. So you could get a little dip as long as we hold pre-market lows. Looking for it to come back up to test the daily 21 around 4087, which is where that 30-minute squeeze top sits. And if we reach a little further, we could fill the gap 4095, 4100. It is an OPEX week, and as you can see, they've kept us in range all week. Yes, we're having a little gap down, but we need to think, do they want to just give it a little pop and push it back into this range, even near the lows, to close out OPEX, or are they really going to let it go and we have a down day? Overall, if we look at the daily on ES, you can see we are coming down to test making an H. As long as we can hold that 4060, that 4056, we'll kind of make the H, but bounce. Sorry, one more. Hold on. Sorry, folks. Sorry about that, folks. A little phone call. But as I was on the phone, we can see we're starting to catch a little bit of that bounce. So expect some kind of push to try to retest 4087, maybe fill the gap. If we do reject there and start to roll over and lose these pre-market lows, we want to target that 4056, and then my next big key levels are down at 4020. If we look on the daily, we can see that the daily 50 sits down around 4,000, the daily 200 around 3950. So if we are going to sell off and dump this bull flag, right? We've made a great push up, and now we are flagging between that 4060, between that 4200. If we are going to dump this flag, overall target is that 3950, 4,000, where our daily 50, daily 200 sits. So those are the overall targets if we are talking about selling off into next week or the week after. But if we can start to hold up here and stay in this flag, then we just consolidate into next week where we have GDP and PCE data coming out. So let's see what we're going to get today. You know, overall, off of pre-market lows and this 4071, going to be looking for the longs to try to get back up for our retests. And, you know, if we start to break pre-market lows, I'll be ready to short back down to the next key target. That first Keltner to the downside, since we are under the mean, is down near that 4020. So that's the overall target if we give out today. And then looking into next week, it's getting down to the bottom of this daily squeeze. Basically, we squeeze long enough up in this range for a daily squeeze to now be forming around us. And now that we're starting to dump below the mean, which is the middle of that squeeze, if we reject the mean, roll over and take out lows, we want to be targeting, maybe not today, but overall down to the bottom of that daily squeeze. So for today, look for that pre-market low around 4065, last week's low around 4060 and 4056 to be potential support to hold us up. 4071 is doing its job right now. And as long as we can hold there, looking for up for potential gap fill, maybe even recovering back to yesterday's range. If we reject, roll over, lose these lows, we know where to target down to. Let's start getting through all these names. In Q, not quite down as far as last week's low, so holding up a little bit better by comparison. It looks like this 4-hour squeeze has fired, but we're still kind of holding near the bottom. Overall, looking to hold these pre-market lows around 12,350. Try to make our way back above 12,400, 430, and maybe back up to about where we closed around 450. The daily 8 sits up at 12,500. We did not quite get to the daily 21 on NQ, which sits down at 12,300, since we stopped shy about 350 in pre-market lows. So if we give out pre-market lows around 350, target down to 300 and 250, which is basically last week's low. If we can hold 350, looking to get back up over 400, 450, get to 500, and maybe north of that into, you know, kind of the last few days range. And the ready. See, it's, you know, we can look at ES and see that it's down and immediately start thinking, oh, I need a short, I need a short. But if we start looking around at individual names, they are actually, or, you know, the other indices and then individual names, they're actually holding up decent. So like ready, not quite as low as last week's low, around 1906, just dipped a little below 1940 overnight, and now with one good pop candle could be back above 1940. Overall, overnight, we held the daily 21 around 1928. We do still have that 4-hour squeeze intact, which spans down to about 1920, 1915. And yeah, in yesterday's sell-off, we didn't even set new lows on ready. And even in the overnight gap down, we haven't set a new low of week on ready. So Russell's going to be a good gauge today. If it's strong early, we could see this market get a good recovery bounce. And as long as it tries to hold above that daily 21 in the squeeze bottom, we might not give off and sell off today. But if we lose that 1927, target to 1920, 15. If that starts to give out, then target back to 1905, 1900. If we can hold up here, looking to try to push back above 1941, 1950, and get back into yesterday's range. YM, definitely the lagger, and set new lows over last week's low, but look where we arrived. Right at the bottom of a daily squeeze, right at a big key level, 33,500. So as long as we hold 33,500 this morning on YM, we could see that recovery bounce. You want to target back up to 33,700, 33,750, where the daily 50 sits, kind of where we closed yesterday. That'll fill the gap, and if we can get back above that, looking for YM to get back above 32,800. It's been very key support. Every time we get back above 800, we try to push. So that's the overall upside target for recovery back into yesterday's range. Apple still has its 4-hour squeeze intact. The bottom of that 4-hour squeeze is right around 150 and a half, 151. And we have the daily 15 in there as well. So we've got a number of things stacking up for support around that 150 and a half, 151. On Apple, pre-market low, around 152-ish. So if we start to give out 152, target down to that 151, 150 and a half, where we could catch a great reversal. If we start to lose that, target to 150, 149, the daily 21 at about 148 and a half-ish today. And the daily 200 at 147 and a half. So we have very big key liquidity targets to the downside if the squeeze fires down. Watch for that. Watch for losing 151, 150 and a half, and then you could play straight down to that 148 and a half, 147 and a half, daily 21, daily 200. If we can hold up that 150 and a half, 151, or even just our pre-market lows around 152. Looking for Apple to try to get north of 153, kind of yesterday's morning lows, and then back up to this zone, 153.8, 154.7. I love that the 4-hour squeeze is still intact on Apple. So even though we fired on the market down, it looks like it was mainly YM dragging us. So let's see if tech can come in to save the day yet again. Amazon, right down at our key level, 97, at the bottom of a 4-hour squeeze. We have to hold here. We start to lose 97. You want to target that last week's low around 96 and a quarter, and then down to 95. But if we could hold 97, looking for a pop back up, 98.15 fills the gap, so getting over pre-market high fills the gap. And then if we can push for more, the daily 21 sits at 99, and the daily 8 sits at 100. Google. Even Google's holding up decent, right? Didn't set new lows yesterday in the sell-off, gapping down below yesterday's low, but holding up right around where it took off on Wednesday for that rally up. So overall, 94, 94 and a half. The support, we do have the daily 50, just a hair under 94. And Google kind of catching a nice bounce here. So if we can hold that 94 and a half, 95, I'm sorry, 94, 94 and a half on any retests of pre-market low. Looking for Google to try to pop back up to 96 and 97, where the daily 8, daily 21 sits at the top of this 4-hour squeeze. Let's move on. Meta. Definitely weaker by comparison and going to be opening around 170. If you can't hold 170, you want to target down to 165 where the daily 21 sits. 170 is pretty key. If we can hold it this morning, target back up to a gap fill, 172.5. And if we can push even further, target up to 175, 176 where the daily 8 sits. The daily 15 at about 173. Microsoft. I'm trying to hold around this 260 where the daily 15 sits. Pre-market low of 259. If we give that out, target down to 257.5 where the daily 21 sits. 255 big key level. 253.5 where the daily 200 sits. But if we can hold around this 259, 260 in that daily 15, then looking for us to get back up to fill the gap at 262 and some change. Yesterday's morning low 263 and the daily 8 at 265. Netflix a little weaker, but holding up this week's lows. We are below last week's lows. Overall, looking for 347 to try to hold us at open. If we start to lose that, we probably want to target down to 345, 340. But if we can hold up, maybe even 345 or this 347, we're going to get back up above 350, which 351 fills the gap. Daily 21 at 352.5-ish. And daily 8 up at 357.5-ish. Moving on to video. Held up well yesterday at 220, now gapping down. Pre-market low right at around 215 and 216. The daily 15 will also be stepping up near that 215. So basically on NVIDIA looking for 215, 216 to hold today, and we can catch a rally back to 220, maybe 222, 225 if she really wants to be strong and the market moves up. If we reject 220 and start to lose 215, 216, then we want to target back down to 212, 210, last week's low around 208, and the daily 21 will be stepping up pretty close to that as well. QQQ. Looks like it's all about 300. Pre-market low right around 300. Last week's low around 297.25. The daily 21 sitting down at 298. So if we lose 300, target down to 298, 297. But if we can hold 300 here and get back over 302 at the top of this 30-minute squeeze, we want to target back up to filling the gap at 303.3. We have the daily 15 right around there. Maybe up to 304.5 where the daily 8 sits. SPY. Hit 405 pre-market. And look at this little wick we got that runs all the way back to filling the gap at 408.3. It's no coincidence. So as long as we can hold 405 pre-market lows and the bottom of that 30-minute squeeze, looking for the long back up to 408, 408.3, which fills the gap. If we can keep pushing, 409 is a key level, and 410, where the daily 8 sits. Actually, a daily 15 and daily 8 right around 410. Daily 21 around 406.63. So we could, have a push up to the daily 21, maybe not fill that gap, reject back over. If we lose 405, target down to 402.74. And then we're talking 400. But 405 is going to be very key. As long as, we slip down, hold it repeatedly, we should be targeting up. And if it gives out, we can cut it quick and switch directions. Tesla. It was a great long yesterday, I believe. Oh no, it was Wednesday when I called it out off of 206 early and it ran up. But even yesterday, I feel like we did call out some Tesla trades, like the 220s. Anyway, Tesla was holding that 4-hour squeeze coming down overnight, right near the daily 8 and big key level of 200. Overnight low down near 97. So as long as we hold above 97, and as we're trying to hold around 200, 2 points of support to try to go long, back up to 205, 206.82, if it keeps going 210. But if we start to lose 200 and that 197, we want to target back to 195, 193 where the daily 15 sits, and 190, which is what we held earlier this week, Monday and Tuesday, that gave us the run up to 216. And finally, VIX. So VIX got back above 20 yesterday and gapping up to 21. Right at the top of a daily squeeze and right near the daily 50, which is at 20.64. As you can see, the overnight or morning action on VIX has held it above that daily 50 at 20.64 and pretty much held it below 21. So nice tight wedge going into open. As long as we can stay below 21 and the pre-market high of 21.2, we can reach up, and as long as we reject and roll over and lose 20.64, then we'll be talking about VIX going back to fill the gap, coming down to 20, which can allow us to go up on the market. But if we hold this wedge and hold above 20.64, call it even 20.5, right? If we hold above that on VIX and start to break above 21, 21.2, then we will see a further sell-off. We'll likely see VIX try to make its way to 21.5, 22, the last few spots it rejected. We do have this big old daily squeeze up above. It does span up to about 22.5. Well, let's see if we can get a quick rejection off of this and come back to fill the gap and test these daily moving averages on VIX before an actual rollover. We got down below daily moving averages and we were contained. Now we're kind of back above, gapping above, somewhat expecting a little bit of that gap fill and retest, and for VIX to hold around, that 20, 19.5 to try to say, I might be ready to go up. So that's about it for prep. Hopefully this was helpful for everybody. And we'll check in real quick on our 45 MAs, and yep, lining up well with that zone above. If we look at yesterday, and the reason I cover these 45 MAs, you can see hit squeeze bottom, came up to hit all of the 45 MAs that we couldn't get through, and rejected back down. Yesterday is when we started to break a bullish stacked set of MAs. We break below them, we find support, and when we come up to test them, they're all flipping bearish. Our rejection confirmed them flipping bearish. So now they all sit above pretty much at key levels. If we can get through 4080, we're clearing the 15. If we can get up to 4092, we're up to the 30. If we can get up to 4108, we're up to the hour. That would be a great spot for rejection to start playing lower again. So let's see if buyers are going to step in, push us back into range, or if we have already started a process and we're going to reject, take out pre-market lows, and keep heading lower. So good luck today, folks. Hopefully everybody found this helpful. If you're new to Predicted Trades, there's a link in the description to come join our Discord where you can learn all about us and our system. We provide a tool every day that you can load on your options charts, which plots very key price points that will be support and resistance on every option contract. That's right, every morning I'm putting out a tool with like 1,000 option strikes to cover you for whatever you're going to trade. So that when we call out, Tesla's running, you can pull up Tesla 220s and it will say, here's a good spot to buy, here's a good spot to sell. And that's how we operate every day. So hopefully this was helpful for everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in our Discord chat. Good luck today.